While he was thinking all of this, he happened to look through the branches toward the top of the tree. There on a branch above his head, a wonderful bird was roosting. I say roosting because it seemed almost asleep, perhaps not quite. The tiniest slit of one eye was open. It was larger than an eagle, its breast saffron, and its head crested with scarlet, and its tail was purple. And it just shows, said Diggory afterward when he was telling the story to others, that you can't be too careful in these magical places. You never know what may be watching you. But I think Diggory would not have taken the apple for himself in either case. Things like do not steal were, I think, hammered into boys' heads a good deal harder in those days than they were now. Still, we can never be quite certain. Diggory was turning to go back to the gates when he stopped to have one last look around. He got a terrible shock. He was not alone. There, only a few yards away from him, stood the witch. She was just throwing away the core of an apple which he had just eaten. The juice was darker than you would expect and made a horrible stain around her mouth. Diggory guessed at once that she must have climbed in over the wall, and he began to see that there might have been some sense in the last line about getting your heart's desire and getting despair along with it. For the witch looked stronger and prouder than ever, and even, in a way, triumphant, but her face was deadly white, white as salt. All this flashed before Diggory's mind in a second. Then he took to his heels and ran to the gates as hard as he could pelt, the witch after him. As soon as he was out, the gates closed behind him of their own accord. That gave him the lead, but not for long. By the time he had reached out to others, he was shouting out, "Quick, get on, Polly, get up, Fledge!" The witch had climbed the wall, or vaulted over it, and was close behind them again. "Stay where you are," cried Diggory, turning to round her face, "or we will all vanish. Don't come an inch nearer." "Foolish boy," said the witch, "why do you run from me? I mean you no harm. If you do not stop and listen to me now, you will miss out on all the knowledge that would make you very happy all your life." "Well, I don't want to hear it," said Diggory, but he actually did. "I know what errand you have come on," continued the witch, "for it was I who was close behind you in the woods last night and heard all your counsels. You have plucked the fruit of the garden yonder, and you have put it in your pocket now, and you are going to carry it back untasted to the lion for him to eat, for him to use. You simpleton! Do you know what that fruit is? I will tell you. It is the apple of youth, the apple of life. I know, for I have tasted it, and I feel already such changes in myself that I know I shall never grow old or die. Eat it, boy, and you and I will live forever and be king and queen of this whole world, or of your world if we decide to go back there." "No, thanks," said Diggory. "I don't know that I care much about living on and on after everybody I know is dead. I'd rather live an ordinary time and die and then go to heaven. But what about this mother of yours who you pretend to love?" "What's she got to do with it?" said Diggory. "You see, fool, that apple would heal her. You have it in your pocket. We are here by ourselves and the lion is far away. Use your magic and go back to your own world. A minute later, you could be at your mother's bedside giving her the fruit. 5 minutes later, you will see the color coming back to her face. She will tell you the pain is gone. Soon she will feel stronger. Then she will fall asleep. Think of that. Hours of sweet, natural sleep without pain. The next day, everyone will say how wonderfully she has recovered. Soon she will be quite well. All will be well. Your home will be a happy home again. You will be like other boys." "Oh," gasped Diggory, as if he had been hurt, and put his hand to his head, for he now knew that the most terrible choice lay before him. "What has the lion ever done for you that you shall be his slave?" said the witch. "What can he do to you once you are back in your own world? And what would your mother think if she knew you could have taken her pain away and given her back to life and saved your father's heart from being broken, and that you wouldn't? That you'd rather run messages for a wild animal in a strange world with no business of yours?" "I don't think he's a wild animal," said Diggory in a dried-up sort of voice. "He is, well, I don't know." "Then he is something worse," said the witch. "Look what he has done to you already. Look how heartless he has made you. That is what he does to everyone who listens to him. Cruel, pitiless boy. You would let your own mother die?" "Shut up," said Diggory miserably in the same voice. "Do you think I don't see? I promised, though." Ah, but you didn't know what you were promising, and no one here can prevent you. Mother herself, said Diggory, wouldn't like it. Awfully strict about keeping promises and not stealing and all that sort of thing. She'd tell me not to do it, quick as anything, if she was here. But she never need to know, said the witch, speaking more sweetly than you would have thought, with anybody so fierce a face could speak. You wouldn't tell her about how you'd got the apple. Your father need never know either. No one in your world need knowing anything about this whole story. You needn't even take the little girl back with you, you know. That was where the witch made her fatal mistake. Of course, Diggory knew that Polly could get away by her own ring as easily as he could away by his. But apparently, the witch didn't know this. And the meanness of the suggestion that he should leave Polly behind suddenly made all the other things the witch had been saying to him sound false and hollow. And even in the midst of all this misery, his head suddenly cleared, and he said, in a much different and louder voice, Look here, where do you come into all this? Why are you so preciously fond of my mother all of a sudden? What's it got to do with you? What's your name? Good for you, Diggs, whispered Polly in his ear. Quick, get away now. She hadn't dared say anything all throughout this argument because, you see, it wasn't her mother dying. Up then, said Diggory, heaving her on Fledge's back, and then scrambling up as quickly as he could. The horse spread its wings. Go on then, fools, said the witch. Think of me, boy, when you lie old and weak and dying, and remember how you threw it all away, the chance of endless youth. It won't be offered to you ever again. They were already so high that they could only just hear her. Nor did the witch waste any time gazing up at them. They saw her set off northward down the slope of a hill. They had started early that morning, and what happened in the garden had not taken very long, so that Fledge and Polly said they would easily get back to Narnia before the nightfall. Diggory never spoke on the way back, and the others were shy of speaking to him. He was very sad, and he wasn't even sure all the time that he had done the right thing. But whenever he remembered the shining tears in Aslan's eyes, he became sure. All day, Fledge flew steadily with untiring wings, eastward with the river to guide him, through the mountains and over the wild wooded hills, and then over the great waterfall, down and down to where the woods of Narnia were darkened by the shadow of a mighty cliff, till at last, when the sky was growing red with sunset behind him, he saw a place where many creatures were gathered together by the riverside. As soon as he could see Aslan himself in the midst of them, Fledge glided down, spread out his 4 legs and closed his wings, and landed cantering. Then he pulled up. The children dismounted. Diggory saw all the animals, the dwarves, satyrs, nymphs, and other things drawing back to the left and right to make way for him. He walked up to Aslan, handed him the apple, and said, I've brought you the apple that you wanted, sir.